Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Sean Jacquemain from Kids Table Board Gaming, also known as KTBG. Sean is their communications director, and they recently launched Maple Valley, the follow-up to Creature Comforts, and is currently on Kickstarter. Sean, welcome to the binge. How you doing?
Great. Thank you. Good to be here.
Maybe you can start off by explain to us kind of your role in KTPG.
Yeah, sure. We are a very small company, so as in many small companies, you wear many hats. But I kind of see myself as the voice of the company.
Mm.
I'm running all different social media channels and kind of like the first point of contact for different customers and fans of the games and whatnot. And I try to craft the different campaigns, so setting the tone for the different games that we're putting out there, and help with creating the messaging. Now, again, because we're so small, we kind of all collaborate on that, and everybody has input. But I'm the one who kind of puts it out there, the first line of contact.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you've got quite a history in the board gaming industry, right? So you've been doing this, I guess, decades. How did you first kind of get into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a board game fan. Like I was playing games with the family at the cottage when I was a kid. So I always had a love of gaming. And yeah, about 12 years ago, Snakes and Lattes opened in Toronto, and
Mm.
I was lucky enough to work at that place that was such a mecca for gaming for such a long time. And when you were there in the early days of Snakes and Lattes, it was very much it felt like you were on kind of the crust of this wave of
Yeah.
board game fandom where people would come in, and it was weirdly the hot place to be in the city in Toronto. And so you kind of got a sense that board games were really having their moment and really kind of stepping into their own, and people were really responding strongly to the hobby at the time. And so I spent 3 really fun, exciting years at Snakes and Lattes. And from there, when I left there, I really loved talking about board games and photographing board games. It was kind of a
Mm.
weird hobby of mine. And so I founded the Daily Worker Placement, which is, just a small little blog that I really kind of did just because I liked writing and talking about board games and photographing them. And with help from friends and people that I met through the industry, that blog kind of grew over the years and became, semi popular underground blog, I suppose. And from there, like, I just made connections, just got to know different people in the industry. And my skills writing and photographing board games were transferable to what a lot of companies needed. And so over the years, I went from working at various shows like Gen Con and Origins, that sort of thing, as just like demo staff teaching games and sharing my passion of games with people at those shows, to eventually kind of having staff positions with a few different companies, and like using those skills, like transferring those skills
Yeah.
into full-time positions.
When you said, it was kind of like that buzz of the early years of something special happening in the indie industry, I can totally relate. I mean, for those who don't know, Snakes and Lattes in Toronto here, so we're in Canada, is at the time was probably the board game cafe, right? It was the destination for going to board, at least the largest one that I knew of. And I think for me, the first time I walked in, I was that whole shock factor of seeing the library right? Like walls of games.
Yeah.
And this whole idea that you've got these experts kind of there to help you navigate it and learn how to play things. It was a foreign concept to me. I had just got into the indie industry at that time, and it was a real eye opener for me. And I think what's kind of cool when I talk to people, and I've talked to a number of people that have worked for different board game cafes, and even several that have worked for this one in particular, is the ability for you to kind of cut your teeth right on the industry and really kind of see it holistically, I guess the best way I can describe it, right? You can see it from different angles, different mechanics, different game styles, but also people. And you start learning people's game styles and what people are looking for, and kind of learn how to match certain games up with certain people, and based on, the timing they need and the style they need, and, whether they like take that or not like take that and things like that. It is super cool, and I think that's probably really been a super strong foundation for you coming into this industry, before even going off to some of these conventions and stuff, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it it was great, as you say, to like cut your teeth and to really hone my skills. I mean, as many people who get deeper into the industry are, I was always one of the people who would like learn the game and teach it to my friends and whatnot. And to be able to sort of build that skill, like it really is a skill to be able to teach a game, layer the information on in sort of the correct sort of way. And I mean, when you're teaching, 20, 30 games a shift or whatever it ended up being, Snakes and Lattes, you got to understand that their game is to be able to look for the right game for the group, and that skill really translates into marketing because it allows you to always identify the selling point of a game is, and that while a game might not be for everybody, there are people for whom will love this game. And just being able to identify those selling points of a game to a group is a skill certainly that I started to learn at Snakes and Lattes. So yeah, definitely an asset to my career.
That's going to even help, I think, with the like even rule books, right? Understanding how to structure
Mm-hmm.
like books, even communications, quite frankly. If I need to explain a game really quickly to an audience, and now you're talking a macro audience, right? How do you do that in an effective way? And so having that kind of that skill set is definitely got to be an asset. Now, you've worked with some very large companies over the years. So can you walk me through quickly that journey, like these different companies that you worked for, and kind of what were your roles?
I had, the industry is very small, and so I was lucky enough to make some connections early, and was able to sort of become an asset to the different companies. And what I found is that uh, in the board game industry, often it is the case that um, your role is very amorphic, and what you can
Mm,
bring to a company sort of changes over time. So seeing ways in which you can contribute to a company is really important. And I have been lucky enough to build a reputation as somebody who can help out help out different companies in different ways. I've got a background in journalism and photojournalism, and so those skills again are kind of transferable. And in starting with some of the bigger companies, I think when you see a big company like Asmodee or CMON from the outside, it seems uh, you know like a big organization, and it
yeah.
is, but I mean it's run by people, and you just form connections with these people and see what it is that they need, and help kind of become a part of that team. So
No, that's cool.
yeah, it's just filling holes that you see.
And then with KTBG, then obviously your reputation preceded you, and that seemed like, I guess, a natural fit, was it, for them to pull you in as a communications director?
Yeah, well, so KTBG is Helena Capel's company with her husband Josh Capel, and I've been friends with them for years. We always really liked each other, and really were looking for projects to work on together, and had worked on a few different projects, before I came on board with them fully. And yeah, it was just a natural fit. I mean, we have the same sensibilities in terms of board game design and what we want to contribute to the industry and what we hope to give back to the industry. So philosophically, game wise, we just mesh really well, and so yeah, it was just a natural fit. And I mean, I really love their games and working on their games,
Yeah.
so that's been
Is
that's been good.
now the current campaign, is this the first campaign you worked on since you've joined their team, or did you work on some of the prior campaigns as well, or?
I've worked with them for a few years now. So the first campaign I worked on was a game called Fossilis, which
Oh, I
was
know Fossils. David
is
Diaz.
a game. Yeah, yes, exactly, David Diaz. Yes, a game about exploration and finding dinosaur bones. It's a bit of a set collection game, but very tactile with the 3D dig site board. So that was the first campaign I worked on, and I've worked on several since then. Creature Comforts, which Maple Valley is the standalone sequel to. Power Plants by Adam Dalton, which is a great sort of magical, botanical, abstract game, and Maple Valley. So yeah,
No, that's
it's
crazy.
been yeah, it's been fun.
So you had a bit of a run. So how would you describe so Maple Valley? And let me just say at the beginning, congratulations um, on the campaign so far. I mean, gosh, you guys have hit almost $273,000, 3,393 backers. I mean, that is incredible. Especially when I'm looking at the environment right now at Kickstarter, and when I often scroll through the games, a lot of accessories, right, and a lot of role playing manuals and so forth on there, but there's not a lot of, I would say, board games, right? Like of the board games, this is definitely a monolith that's kind of standing out in terms of funding, right, versus the others. So congratulations on that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Not everybody's necessarily familiar with Creature Comforts. Can you kind of talk about Creature Comforts as kind of the world or the theme before we kind of get into Maple Valley as a game?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Your Company was by Roberta Taylor a few years back, and she had this simple design where, really she wanted to create a game that was cozy. That was like kind of this idea that she had in her head, and the game was designed to be competitive, certainly, but not to feel overly aggressive, like a game to be made where you're creating the warmth of your own dead, and somebody going to come out on top and have that wasn't the feeling that was for in this game. We kind of took it from there. So the idea of that is a worker placement game with dice resolution, and it's set in a forest valley full of cute critters, all trying to prepare their dens for winter. So an interesting kind of twist on a worker placement game that I think a lot of people have played in the past, and then Maple Valley kind of takes it a next step beyond there.
Yeah, certainly the world it's adorable. Like the artwork is it the same artist used for Creature Comforts as Maple Valley as well?
Yeah, that's right. It's Shauna JC Tenney. She's absolutely amazing. She kind of creates so much personality. I mean, the locations and the boards themselves are beautiful.
Oh
I
yeah.
think they really pull you in. Especially the Maple Valley board has all sorts of beautiful extra little details that I think as you're playing the game, you'll notice them over time. But more than anything else, she does a great job with the various critters, like the different critters in Maple Valley and in Creature Comforts. She really kind of creates a personality and a family of critters for the different groups in the game. And yeah, like we were just so thrilled to work with her again. We couldn't really see it with any other artist. It's
Yeah.
the third game we've worked on with her after Bugs on Rugs as well.
Where's she based out of? Is she Canadian or what's her background?
She's not Canadian. She's based out of the States, but
Okay.
I don't know exactly where in the States. Yeah, but she's worked on a number of different games, and she's got always got a bunch of projects on the go.
Yeah. So for this particular game, so for Maple Valley, so who's the designer, and can you kind of give us an overview of kind of the essence of how you play this game and kind of the gist of it?
Yeah, sure. So Roberta Taylor is the designer of the game, designer of Creature Comforts as well as a bunch of other ones. So in this game, it is the first day of spring, and you are the youngest member of your family, and it's up to you to run around the valley, collecting different goods and crafting them into favors for the spring festival. So you're gonna hopefully be the critter who has brought the most goods to the festival and has made the biggest contribution to make it a big success. So what's interesting about the game is we call it a worker movement game, and the idea is that the board itself is a map of Maple Valley, and there's a number of different locations sort of spread out throughout the board, and you are going to move from location to location by spending friend cards from your hand. And each of the different friend cards has a movement type to it. So, an otter will move across water paths, and a
Mm.
bear will move along rock paths, and so on, like that. And so, each turn, you're going to play a friend card from your hand, and you're going to move to a new location, and you're going to activate that spot. And that can be gathering goods or exchanging them for something else or adding new friends to your hand, different things that you can do. And ultimately what you're trying to accomplish is gathering goods and crafting them into favors for this party. So it's interesting. It is tricky to always get to the spot that you want to get
Hmm.
to, but we've kind of put in enough little tricks within the game itself to usually, with a little bit of planning, accomplish everything you're trying to do. So
And when I was looking at some, scrolling over some of the imagery here for people that are watching the replay or live, um, some of these tokens seem very Canadian to me as a Canadian, but almost subtle. So someone that's not from Canada
mhm.
may not see them that way, right? But when I look at some of these things, like we've got like a trillium, for example, so it just
Mhm.
as a flower, but you and
That's
I
right.
both know that the trillium is the official flower of Ontario, which is where where the owners are based out of. There's honey, there's birch trees, mint, which you can find out as you forage here. So was that the inspiration? Was that done on purpose, or is it just kind of subconsciously Canadian?
Oh no, no, it was absolutely done on purpose. Both Maple Valley and Creature Comforts, the idea was, that it's like a little fantastical village somewhere in Algonquin Park, which is a big
Yeah.
provincial park here in Ontario. And so every animal that you see in the game is something that actually lives in Algonquin Park. All of the little elements, like you say, like the trillium, the honey, the goods, those sorts of things, all things that you would find in Algonquin Park. In Creature Comforts, there's a coin which is modeled after the now defunct Canadian penny.
Mm.
So yeah, we try. Certainly is done with intention and purpose, and not to hit anybody over the head with it, just like a little nod to our Canadian roots, because both Roberta and KTBG Canadian company, so just like a little subtle nod to our roots there.
That's cool. I personally love it being a Canadian. It's a little bias. With you notice that there is in your campaign page as well. There's this voting system for the patches.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, a KTBG campaign, we always love to have interaction with
Hmm.
our fans and backers, and we like to get their input on various polls. So in particular, the patch polls. So patches in the game are little cards that you can acquire that will give you some sort of benefit. They'll either help you during the game or help you with end game scoring. And we wanted to get some input from our fans, so we had people suggest different topics, different titles for the patch tiles, and other people comment on what the illustration would be on that patch. And like for us, it's a lot of fun because we get to see sort of the excitement and passion that our fans have for the games.
Yeah.
That is honestly one of the most rewarding things, because we sit for months and months working on a game, and we play it with amongst ourselves, and we get it out there for playtesting and whatnot. But to see this sort of interaction just kind of justifies the hard work that we put in. It lets us know that people are as excited as we are. And the nice thing for backers and whatnot is that their suggestion might get in the game, but not only that, their name might get in the game as sort of a contributor to it.
No, that's
So
cool.
it's fun for them, because I mean, I know the first time I saw my name in a rule book or anything like that, just as a playtester, thank you. That was a real thrill for me. So, we like to do that sort of thing. We do that in all of our campaigns. Like, we try to find ways to reach out to our audience and let our audience give us feedback, to let them put kind of their fingerprints on the game as well.
From an algorithm standpoint, the one thing I noticed is it says you're voting in the comment section of the Kickstarter page, which, as you know, the more comments you have on your page, the more the algorithms kick in
Mhm.
and again help bring it to the top. So it's very clever, right? Because you guys have the community engagement part where you got people getting involved and helping you kind of craft the direction that you're going.
Mhm.
At the same time, the mechanism to do that voting process, uh, gives you that algorithm
Yeah.
boost, which is really cool and really clever. Is there any? What are some other things that you've done as a community manager that one thing I noticed going through your different campaigns, right? That KTBG's done is it almost seems like you've got a formulaic approach now to how the Kickstarter pages are structured, right? So it seems like you guys are really honed in on okay, this is what's working for us. So now our campaigns moving forward, we're going to structure them this way, and little minor tweaks and so forth, but
Mhm.
it's fairly consistent. Is there anything else that you guys have learned successfully kind of generation after generation with these games that you've been able to adopt during campaigns and say, okay, we know this kind of thing works for us, so we're going to make sure we carry that forward in future campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, yes, like we are still learning from each campaign, things that work and things that don't work. But uh, for us, basically, I mean, in terms of like setting up the page, Josh is a master of graphic design and laying out information in a way that's easy to receive. We try to listen to feedback, so things positive and negative that people notice throughout the campaign, and just making sure information is up front where people can see it. Things that people want to see are how to play sections,
Mm-hmm.
reasons why to back. Like, tell us why backing this game now is makes more sense than like waiting for retail. Those sorts of things, ways that we can communicate the value of our games over
Yeah.
time. Because I think that's what perhaps we all struggle with as artists is really valuing our work and really championing the qualities that are in the games and the things that sort of set our games apart.
Yeah.
And so we try to just really identify the reasons why backing one of our games makes sense, and the ways we try to go above and beyond, even just a retail version of it.
No, it's super cool. I mean, you guys have had a pretty good record here now of each successive game, and the frequency. Like the engine is really running well here. Is there something else you guys got coming next that you can tease out at all, or is it all secrets at this point, or
Yeah,
can
yeah.
you
I
comment
mean,
on anything?
certainly, we're we're already thinking about our next game past Maple Valley, and we do have a game that we've been working on for a long time. It's exciting. I am gonna say just a teaser bit of information, which
Sure.
is dungeon crawling battleship, and that is where
Ooh.
that's where I will leave it there. Just a teaser bit of information that we've got a new game that's really unique, and I think people are going to really love. It's going to be very different than any game that we've worked on in the past, but yeah, we're super excited about it. But I can't say anymore. That's
Oh,
it.
that's good. That reminds me of James Cameron, his pitch, right? When he goes in to pitch to the executives, and Titanic is a big example of that, where he'd say, he goes, "Okay, so the idea of this movie, Romeo and Juliet on the Titanic. That's his
Right.
pitch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Avatar, Pocahontas in space, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is I love that, dungeon crawling battleship. That's quite clever. For people that do want to follow this campaign, I am going to put a link in the show notes, or they can literally just type in Maple Valley. I'm sure if you go to KTBG, I can never get the. I always want to put G before B, but if they go to Kids Table Board Gaming, obviously there's all the games on there. Is there a social channel specifically that people like of the channels you guys have? What's the one that you guys would suggest people going to in order to kind of follow you guys?
I mean, we are always updating them most of the time, but our Facebook page, Kids Table BG, is updated fairly regularly,
Okay.
several times a day, especially during the campaign. Twitter account for now, and Instagram as well. Like we're always trying to get the message out on all those various channels. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, Sean, I want to wish you guys all the best to you and the entire team on this campaign. You guys should be very, very proud of where you are already. There's still 15 days to go. So I'm sure people are going to be high-fiving at the end of this campaign. And all the best this coming year, eh?
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Take care. Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.